it was 3 days. You know, when we filmed it, we were in LA training, and it's just kind of goals and aspirations that that I have. And Uninterrupted is a company that I am a partner with that allows you to, you know, speak your mind, and it's called Uninterrupted because there's 2 minutes and 30 seconds of that video where it's going straight, and there's a lot more information than the one piece that you took out, and that's why I really use the company Uninterrupted and why I'm happy to be a partner with it. So really, any questions you have on that, you can go watch it on Uninterrupted or Twitter, wherever you want to find it. Just make sure you find it. Other than that, it's really just something on my mind. There's a lot of other things and goals that you have that you want to accomplish, but that's just one of them.
Do you think it's a realistic goal?
It's not really up to me.
Odell, how did it feel to be back on the field today, you know, with a new group?
It felt great. It was a little humid, but it wasn't too hot. It was a nice day, nice easy day just to get back in the swing of things. I'm looking forward to this season.
Odell, there was a lot of talk this summer, obviously, with all the NBA contracts that are coming out. When you talk about stuff like that, do you think about just yourself, or do you see yourself
Everybody
making an impact for every player?
That's what you want to do. Is you want to change the game. This isn't for me. This isn't for Odell Beckham. This is for everybody in the league, people who deserve it. You know, you sit there and you watch the people in the NBA, and it's crazy. I mean, being realistic, it's crazy what they're getting, and there's people in the NFL who deserve that. And I just want to be, you know, if I can, be one of the forefront for it and help push the league, the game that way, because I feel like the players deserve it. I feel like, you know, we go through a lot. We put ourselves through a lot, mentally, physically, emotionally, and they just deserve it. You know, and the players in the league deserve it. They work hard for it. So it's not for me. This is not for me.
When you say deserve it, you're talking about those amounts.
I mean, is it? I was talking to Richard Sherman, and he said that he wants to have player pay looked at in the NFL on the next CBA. So are you talking about similar to the NBA, that there should be kind of like a positionless structure where you can get a max deal regardless of what position you play?
I don't really know much about that. You know, like I said.
When you're saying you're fighting for the players, what is it that you're fighting for specifically with regards to pay?
It's kind of, you know, I talked to Sherman about it, and it's just, like I said, I feel like the players in the NFL who are doing the things that they're doing should be paid more. It's just that simple. Other than that, I really don't have too many comments on contracts. I can't control that. Again, it was just a statement that was made on Uninterrupted. So if you want to check it, go to Uninterrupted. You can find it over there. It's nice.
Odell, when you were about to talk contract, like when you're filming that video, do you think to yourself, this might not be the right time, like we're going into camp?
I don't really.
To be an issue, or
don't really. It doesn't bother me at all.
Because you know how much of a lightning rod you are, how big of a player you are, how big of a star you are, and that is
and
an
how
issue if
big
you
of a
say
story
that.
it's going to be if I say something. That's, you know.
You're a star.
Right.
So, I mean, does that go through your mind, like maybe I shouldn't bring this up because it'll be a distraction to like everything else going on?
I mean, everything's a distraction that I do. So, speaking, it doesn't really matter. Anything that goes on is going to be a distraction. So, me speaking my mind about a question that was asked through a company that I work with, it's a different story. And again, other than that, you know, this is my 4th year in the league. I don't really know about contracts. I don't know how they're done. I don't know anything about that. That's up to Mr. Reese, Mr. Mara, the Giants, my agent. So they all figure that out. I just come out here, stretch, run routes, play football, try and be the best teammate I could be every day. And that's really all I have to say about it.
You went up to John.
That was Odell Beckham Jr. speaking to the media for the first time since he said on Thursday to Uninterrupted that he would prefer to be the highest paid player in the league, not simply the highest paid receiver. He was just asked there in New York if this was a distraction. Is it?
No, I don't think it's a distraction, other than he's obviously going to get asked about it. I think it's bad timing in the sense that he's got 2 years left on his contract for all intents and purposes because of the 5th-year option. I think kind of my takeaway from this, and I think it's probably important for people who maybe read the headline of what he said, is he seems to know very little about how the process works, how it will eventually work for him. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse into why somebody would say something that, quite honestly, it's uninformed.
Yeah, and he just hasn't been through it yet. You know, I don't know that I would have known in my first 3 years, going into my 4th year, exactly how all the contract stuff works, because I hadn't been through it. Here's a guy that was drafted in the first round. He's just hasn't been through it. And it was kind of a throwaway comment, it seems like, in a longer piece that we've made such a big deal of. But I think when you are a star like he is, you probably need to realize the power of your words and the power of how you carry yourself and the impact that it has on your team. Now every single New York Giants player today, instead of talking about something about football, they're going to be talking about, well, Odell thinks players should be paid more, and that kind of stuff. But I think he'll grow, he'll learn. He's obviously got a great relationship with his agent, and he trusts his agent to just, hey, you got that, and I just got football.
Yeah, well, that's true, and certainly it's time for football with Camps reporting. And speaking of time for football, John Lynch has sent this out via Twitter. He indicated that he did hope to get something done today, and in fact, he has. Solomon Thomas has signed, and there's the picture to prove it. And with that, we'll welcome in our insider, Adam Schefter, now with, again, news from several teams that are reporting to camp today. And we'll start with the Rams and defensive tackle Aaron Donald. Shefty, officially a training camp holdout?
Wendy, as of this very moment, the Rams are waiting to see whether or not Aaron Donald reports to the team today with the rest of the players. There's still uncertainty in the organization. I think there's a real sense a holdout is definitely possible here right now for Aaron Donald, one of the best defensive players in the entire game. And if the Rams don't have him, that would not be the way that Wade Phillips and Sean McVay want to start their regimes in L.A. with the Rams, but it could be that way. In Tennessee, Marcus Mariota has reported to camp. He is coming off the fractured fibula. His weight is down to 218 pounds, despite the fact that Titans coaches wanted him to be closer to 225, 230. He believes he'll be quicker. Obviously, that injury last year factored into his decision to lose some weight, but Mariota, surrounded by Eric Decker and unsigned first-round draft pick Corey Davis, looks primed to have another good year for the Tennessee Titans. As for the Oakland Raiders and their first-round draft pick Garyon Conley, he remains unsigned, but it's not difficult to get that deal done. The Raiders are waiting to sign him. They're waiting clarity from the legal situation that surrounded Garyon Conley before the draft into the accusations of sexual assault. Again, there has not been a decision made as of yet about whether or not he'll be charged or arrested. The Raiders are waiting, but they do think, and they are optimistic, that he will be available, that he will be absolved eventually, and that Garyon Conley will be joining the Raiders as they go to training camp. And, of course, a couple of other moves to point out to you today, Wendy. The Seattle Seahawks today signed former Eagles first-round draft pick Marcus Smith. Now they can match Marcus Smith with another failed first-round draft pick from the Miami Dolphins, Deion Jordan, who they also signed. So two former first-round draft picks looking to make an impact in Seattle.
Adam Schefter, thank you. And speaking of the Raiders, they've traded in the gridiron for the hardcore. ESPN's Sammy Alapur caught up with members of the Silver and Black to talk about the upcoming season. And later, botched kicks, showboating gone wrong, and, of course, the ultimate butt fumble. We take a look at some of the most embarrassing moments from the NFL. And still to come, Jim Trotter visited Jerry's World for an all-access look into the life of Jerry Jones. NFL Live continues after this.
You don't all the time find cooking talent, but when it's hot, burn the roof of their mouth with it. When it's supposed to be cold, burn the roof of their mouth like hot ice.
Part of a new season, the defending champs on the field for the second straight day, and as you might imagine, true Belichick form, they are on to 2017. Mike Reese joins us from Foxborough, day 2 of training camp, and could it be Bill Belichick's patience already wearing thin, Mike?
That's right, Wendy. 10 minutes into his morning news conference, Belichick was asked how an undrafted player had looked in the first practice of training camp. And to Belichick, this was the media's version of the false start. Way too early to jump ahead and ask that type of question. He said the real evaluations start when full pads come on, and that doesn't happen until Saturday. His answer was filled with sarcasm.
You guys are asking a lot of questions about what have we seen from this guy, what have we seen from that guy. We've yet to put on pads, all right? So understand that, there's a pretty talented group of evaluators in this room, but in all honesty, our evaluations come more in training camp when we actually practice and we can fully execute the techniques and the plays that we're trying to do. I'm not taking anything away from anybody. I'm just saying it is what it is. The competitive level out there is not what it's going to be starting tomorrow. So to evaluate players competitively when they're not on a competitive level, I have a hard time with. But I know a lot of the people are real good at that, and they can make a lot more out of it than I can, so I respect that. But due to my personal limitations and my personal inability to make those evaluations, I don't make them.
Yes.
Belichick's edge continued on the practice field behind me. I'll take you right out onto the field and what happened. The Patriots were transitioning from one practice session to another practice session, and Belichick didn't like the pace that players, coaches, and support staff were moving, so he blew his whistle and told everyone to go back to the prior session of practice, let them work a little bit, and then he blew his whistle again, and wouldn't you know, everyone had a little extra hop in their step, Wendy.
I bet they did, Mike Reese. I'm not going to lie, it's my favorite time of year when Bill Belichick is back with that sarcasm of his. Great to see you, Mike. Thank you. And again, of course, we mentioned it, Tom Brady hitting the big 4-0 coming up next week. It'll be Thursday, August 3rd. I mean, look, Matt, you played past 40. I would imagine it is a different deal. I mean, it's an arbitrary number, but it is getting older. And what's he pushing toward at this point?
Well, this guy seems to be getting better as he gets older, and I think it's because of the things that we've read about all offseason, all last year, nutrition, recovery, all the different things that he's doing. He's kind of changing the game. You see other quarterbacks showing up at camp, lighter than they were. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees looks like he's, a little more fit. Marcus Mariota's lost some weight.
Cam Newton.
I think these guys are following Brady's in his steps. But, for me, honestly, it's the stuff you never think about. I was going home after practices when my kids were getting older. I'm all of a sudden helping with, math homework and stuff like that. This is the stuff that Tom's going to be dealing with as well as trying to win the AFC East this year.
Well, no quarterback who began a season at age 40 or older, which he will, has ever started all 16 games, won 10 or more games, or won a Super Bowl. But I have to say, I mean, at this point, Tim, if there's one that can do it, it would appear to be Tom Brady.
It certainly seems so because he doesn't look like the physical skills have diminished at all. And so, Matthew's talking about, how he's taking care of his body between diet and recovery and things of that nature. Also doing things a little bit differently for him, or have probably been doing it for quite some time in terms of resting the arm. And rules have changed in terms of how many times you can practice throughout training camp. And so while guys do that, they're doing a better job of taking care of their arms. And I think what it does, quite honestly, Wendy, it goes back to when you start that process. When I was in the Philadelphia Eagles camp, Donovan McNabb would get rest days. Eli Manning got rest days as early as his third year in the National Football League. Kurt Warner got him in Arizona. I think by resting Brady at times, probably throughout his career, he's had days off of practice before. That helps you. It helps you survive longer.
And the offseason has changed. When Tom Brady started his career, they would go back to work probably March 2nd. Now these guys go back maybe end of April sometime. And so you're not working. You have that downtime to recover. Then you get to training camp, like we mentioned, and it's just one throwing session a day. And then if the coach chooses to pluck you out of that for a day to give you some rest, even last year when they knew he had the suspension coming, they gave Jimmy Garoppolo a fair share of some of the workload that Tom Brady otherwise would have had, and he looked better than he's ever looked late in the year last year. So I think that formula has already shown to be pretty successful for them. I expect more of the same this training camp.
There were those who argued that suspension actually served them well in the end because of that.
But one thing to point out to even show how much more impressive it is, New England Patriots usually go far into the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. So he's playing 4 or 5 more games a lot of times than other people are playing.
Let me ask you this quickly. If Tom Brady stays healthy and is able to start all 16 games, is there any reason this team can't be better than it was last year?
No.
I think we fully expect them to be better than they were last year.
Wow. All right. Coming up, Jerry Jones has negotiated plenty of contracts, but what does Michael Irvin have to say with a town in West Texas?
Jerry Jones is going through this whole story about something that happened down in El Paso. It happened in El Paso. He said, well, yeah, this happened down in El Paso.